Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our webinar on presentation skill, where we are about to take it up a notch. I am Ekta Shah, your moderator for today's event. And it's a pleasure to introduce our esteemed speaker, Ms. Almaz Virani, with an extensive experience in corporate learning and development, roles at an organizations like JP Morgan, Vodafone, to name a few. She has earned her expertise as a certified world class speaking coach, motivational speaker, podcast consultant, and a change maker. So, over the last 2 decades, Almaz has coached and trained over 45,000 individuals globally, making her a true communication expert. Today, she is here to share her insight and strategies to help you enhance your presentation skill. So, without any further ado, I present to you Almaz Virani, who will empower you to elevate your presentation skill to the next level. Almaz, the stage is yours now.
Thank you, Ekta, and good afternoon, everyone. Before I begin, I want to ask you a question. And I'd like you to use the chat box as much as possible. Yeah. So I'd like you to type a big yes in the chat box. Raise your hands and type yes if you've ever been scared of doing something in life. If you've ever been scared of doing something in life, I'd like you to raise your hand or type yes in the chat box. Been scared? Right. So a lot of us have been scared, right? Shrikant says a big yes. Yes, yes, yes. We've all been scared. I'd like you to meet someone who was scared most of her childhood. Okay. Meet Almas. This is me as a child. And I used to be a shy, introvert child with severe social anxiety. Now, social anxiety sounds like a very complex term, but it literally meant that I was really scared to mingle around with kids my age. I wouldn't even find it easy to play with them. Okay. My favorite place was the bathroom. You would usually find me locked there because I didn't want to face anyone out there in the world. I was a nagger with an inferiority complex. I literally struggled to talk and actually play with kids my age. It was that bad. Okay. So that was me until the age of 11. And when you talk about being scared, most of you raised your hand saying scared to do something. For me, speaking was ultimate fear. I had this ultimate fear of speaking. Okay. And I had a breakthrough moment when I was about 11 years old. I was in my class. I was in school. I think I was in my 6th grade. And Smita ma'am, dressed in a red sari with a red bindi, fair Brahmin lady, she walks in. My favorite school teacher. She walks into my class and she says, "Who wants to give the Independence Day speech this year?" And she looked at the crowd and she looked at me. And I, the scared Almaz, wanted to hide. I literally wanted to hide. She looked around and she asked the same question: Who wants to give the Independence Day speech this year? Again, she looked around and for some reason she looked at me. I wanted to hide. I did hide. I ducked almost. And the girl sitting next to me, Vidya Shetty, who's my best friend today, she nudged me and she said, "Don't hide. Raise your hand. She's looking at you." And I remember I raised my hand, and that one hand changed the rest of my life. Okay. I was all set to give my first speech, which was an Independence Day speech. Many moons ago, many decades ago, I was ready to land on stage and meet the mic for the first time. With teeth tattering, knees locked, sweaty palms, really, really nervous, I somehow managed to get on stage. And I said the first few words. After that, there was no looking back. I fumbled a little, I made mistakes, but 2.5 minutes later, when 500 kids in the audience started clapping, this Almas that you see on the screen got her first validation. For the first time, she got a lot of appreciation, and that was a breakthrough moment. After that, there was no looking back. I was the designated speaker in school, in college, for debates, elocution. I went on to being a radio jockey for a while. I also represented India at the United Nations. I worked with organizations like JP Morgan, Tech Mahindra, and Ekta's told you some of the stuff. I'm a certified world-class speaking coach. But what I want you to really feel with me right now is you should have been there with me, standing right next to me while Mr. Javed Akhtar Saab launched my book, The Change Makers. And the feeling that this Almas had was, I am the same girl who was really scared to talk to kids my age. And here I have an industry stalwart launching my book in front of so much media. It was such a moment where I cried and laughed at the same time, right? And all of this, my friends, has been possible. Okay, all of this has been possible because I was ready to work on myself. I was ready. All of this, okay, all of this that you see here, and I'm not sharing this because I want you to applaud for me and get accolades. I mean, all of that is fancy stuff. But the reason I'm sharing this with you is that the same girl, Almas Virani, who came from a 200 square feet chawl in Shivri in Mumbai, who had issues speaking up, showing up, who was hiding most of her life, is now doing all of this. And all of this has been possible, my friends, because I was ready to visualize a new me. We have to be ready to see ourselves as a different person altogether. We have to be ready to put in the work. We have to be ready to show up and not hide. And we have to be ready to open up, right? So, my big question to you as you attend this program today is, are you ready? And if you are ready to get onto this beautiful journey with me, I'd like you to type ready in the chat box. Come on, let me see how many of you are ready. And I want 100% ready in the chat box. If you are ready to bring about a change in your life, if you're ready to really mesmerize the audience, open up, speak up, and be the best version of yourselves, then I'd like a lovely ready there. And it's so inspiring to see all of you typing ready. Let's go. Yes, let's go. Let's get ready to move into the next phase of our communication. Because this is the one skill that can change your life, my friends. And I'm not saying this because I've dedicated my life to communication, but that is reality. You see, we have Chat GPT today, and written communication has become all the more easy. But what about your spoken ability? When you are in a meeting and you have to present your ideas, when you have to make a presentation in front of an audience, it is literally you. And what is going to be the game changer is how well you present, how well you communicate, right? So, this is my purpose in life. I help people speak better. And it's not so much about the language, English, but it's really about how you carry yourself and how you present yourself, right? So there's a lot that's going to be covered. I have a lot to do. Ekta's given me only 1 hour, so let's dive deep into this and let's get started. If you have a notepad handy, that'd be great because I'm going to be sharing a lot of information with you, and you can keep making notes as we go along. Okay. Now I have a big question with you before you go ahead. First of all, please make sure you're completely here with me because I'm going to be asking you to engage with me in a lot of activities. You'll keep doing a lot of work with me. This is going to be a super engaging seminar. Okay. In fact, if you can switch on your video, that would be super great. I'd like to ask you a few questions. And the first question is, what is the most important thing you want to achieve out of today? So open the chat box and tell me, what is it that you would like to learn today? What would you like to achieve today? Come on, hurry up. I'm giving you 10 seconds. And I'd like you to quickly type, what would you like to get out of this session today? What would you like to learn? The session is presentation skills, right? Let's take ourselves a notch higher. What would you like to be? Be a confident and impactful speaker? Stressless life? Rohit, I wish both of us good luck with that. बिल्कुल stressless तो नहीं हो सकता, but we can find ways to manage our lives better. Be an extrovert, more knowledge, be happy and confident, impactful presentation skills, overcome the fear of initiating a presentation, able to understand how to articulate what's going on in my mind. Now, that's important. Overcome fear, how to start introducing myself, talk without fear, overcome public speaking fear. Okay, lovely, lovely, lovely. So a whole lot of stuff that you're asking for, we're going to try and cover as much as we can in the time that we spend together. So what's in store for you? The first thing we want to talk about is how to utilize your voice really well. Okay. Your voice is the biggest weapon that you have in terms of really achieving or getting to the other side of any transaction. Okay. It's like a bridge between any transaction, whether it is a negotiation deal, whether it is a presentation that you have to make, or whether it is getting to a win win in a relationship. Voice is very important. But today we're going to talk about voice in terms of presentation skills because that is the concept for us today, right? So, question is, are you really utilizing 100% of the potential of your voice? Now, let me tell you this. I deal with so many people on a daily basis. I coach some top notch CEOs, business tycoons, and some of them talk to themselves. They don't even open their mouth and talk. खुद से ही बात करते हैं, मुंह नहीं खोलते. How can you create an impact if you don't open your mouth and use your voice completely, right? So today, the first thing I want you to learn is I want you to learn how to use your voice fully. Now, let me ask you this. How many of you want boring gyan? Anyone wants boring gyan here? If not, and you want some practical tips today, okay? You want tips that you want to go back with, type TIPS, tips in the chat box. And I'm going to give you a whole lot of tips that you can go back and implement. I want this program to be absolutely experiential. You're giving me 1 hour of your time, and I want to give you 1,000% of whatever I can do today, okay? So I'm going to give you a lot of tips. So the first tip I want to give you is to do something called vocal workouts. By the way, everything that I'm going to share with you today is something that a lot of world-class speakers use. So you're actually getting inside secrets, hidden secrets, top-notch information around presentation skills. So this is something that I personally do. Whenever I have a presentation, I have a talk, I make sure that I practice this. In fact, I do this as a ritual at least twice a week. Singers do this most of the times because it's very important for you to exercise your vocal cords. जब muscle बनाना होता है तो हम gym जाते हैं, right? We go to the gym because we want to do the workout and get the muscle. Similarly, your voice is a muscle. You want to practice it. You want to exercise it. You want all of these muscles to open up when you are speaking. So I'm going to give you some exercises that you can go back and implement. Okay. And these are going to be fun, cool exercises. You're going to have a lot of fun while we do this. The first exercise that I'm going to give you is called the good toffee technique. Okay. Toffee. So can you type your favorite toffee in the chat box? कौन सा chocolate आपको सबसे ज़्यादा पसंद है? My personal favorite as a child, I remember, was Melody. Melody है chocolatey. Oh, somebody's already typed Melody, right? So Melody, eclairs, whatever it is, that's your favorite. So this technique is called the good toffee technique. Now, what you do with this technique is you imagine that you are eating a good toffee. Now, I can't see most of you, but if I did, I would like to imagine what your faces would look like, right? So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to imagine and pretend like you're eating a good toffee. Do it right now, yeah? Now, as you do that, you will notice a lot of these jaw muscles getting exercised, okay? This is very good for your vocal workout. Yeah, yeah. Amir is saying right. So he's practiced it. Good, Amir. You can do this on a daily basis. So you do this for about 30 seconds and you will be able to feel some circulation here. You will be able to release some tension here and you'll be able to practice your jaw muscles. Now, if you want to take this a notch higher, because the program is about taking something notches higher. So I want to teach you something called the bad toffee technique. Now, the bad toffee technique is going to call for a little more workout for your muscles, okay? So I'd like you to imagine that you're actually chewing on a bad toffee, okay? What's like a really bad tasting toffee? एक center shock नाम का एक chocolate आता था, पता है? So for me, that was like very difficult to digest or taste, whatever. So imagine a really bad toffee, a toffee that you really don't like too much. And what would be your vocal, how would you look? What would be your expressions while you're eating that, right? I'd like you to do this. And as you do this, you will notice that you are literally exercising your jaw, your tongue, your mouth even more. Okay. So that is your second technique, your second exercise, which is bad toffee technique. So you've got good toffee and you've got bad toffee. Okay. Now the third technique that I'm going to give you, any motorcyclist here? यहाँ पे कोई motorcycle चलाता है? Type me, M-E-M-E, motorcycle. काफी सारे लोग हैं जो motorcycle चलाते हैं. Okay. So if you're somebody who's riding that आवाज वाला motorcycle, this will resonate with you. And for those of us who don't ride motorcycles, we would have seen people on the streets riding a motorcycle with that noise. Okay. So imagine the motorcycle, and I'm going to show it to you, and you can practice it as I do it. Okay. So keep your hands together and imagine you're riding a motorcycle. Now, if you do this, you will notice a lot of vibrations here. Okay. This is very, very good vocal workout. And as you do this, you're also able to control the air inside your mouth, which means you're able to breathe a lot more, which is very good for your voice. Okay. And the longer you can do it, the better. Okay. I'm going to do it once more. Okay. So that is your gliding technique. And these are 3 exercises. There are a lot more exercises, but I thought I'll give you the 3 best ones. Okay. So this is what you can do. But this is one of the things that you can do to literally do a vocal workout. Now, if you're enjoying this so far, and if you're finding some value so far with the exercises that I've given you, and you like the vocal workout, I'd like you to type value. If you feel that this has been valuable for you, I want to get feedback because there are so many tips that I want to share with you. And this is just the beginning. Okay. So this is a vocal workout that you can do almost on a daily basis to start with if you are not really opening your mouth and talking. Okay, this is really, really, really going to help you. So this is one of the first things that I wanted to share with you. The second thing that I want you to start using to improve your voice is use something called the diaphragm. Now, the diaphragm is a place in your body right below the lungs and above the stomach. So if this is your stomach and these are your lungs, there's a space right there. Okay. So this is the diaphragm. This is the diaphragm. And most of us don't speak from there. If you speak from there, you will sound more confident. Okay. So I'm going to show you 2 voices and I'd like you to spot the difference. This is my throat voice. My name is Almas and I'm here for the presentation skills workshop. So this is my throat voice. Okay. Now I'm going to speak from my diaphragm and you hear the difference. Okay. Now, how do I speak from the diaphragm? I put my hand on my diaphragm and I should feel a contraction as I speak. Okay. So listen to this very carefully. This is my diaphragm voice. My name is Almas and I'm here for the presentation skills workshop. Did you notice a difference? Listen to me again. This is my throat voice. I'm here for the presentation skills workshop. This is my diaphragm voice, and I'm here for the presentation skills workshop. If you notice the difference, type yes in the chat box. Now, I'd like you to practice this as well. I would like you to practice this as well. Somebody said the diaphragm voice is bold. Kya hota hai? When we speak from the diaphragm, we automatically sound more confident. We sound more confident. We sound deep. Okay. So for example, if I have to give you a comparison between different types of voices, let's imagine Sachin Tendulkar's voice, right? And imagine Amitabh Bachchan's voice. Now, Amitabh Bachchan's voice is a nice low-pitched voice, has a lot of bass. Okay, it's a more diaphragm-based voice. And I'd like us to start speaking from there. So if you practice the diaphragm speaking on a daily basis, you're going to experience a lot of change in the way you speak. And you will also automatically speak slowly. Okay. Now, there are various advantages of speaking slowly. How many of you would like to know how many words per minute should you speak? I get a lot of this question. How many words per minute should I speak? Should I speak fast, slow? I don't know. So first of all, you're not going to count. Koi count nahi karta number of words. If you want to know, it's 140 to 160. Now, earlier it was 110 to 120, but with attention spans dipping, it has become 140 to 160. Okay. Now, nobody is going to count the number of words. What is important is that you make sure that every sound in every word is clear. If every sound in every word is clear and you're understandable, you're opening your mouth and talking, then that should be good enough. Okay. Now, a lot of people also tend to use something called fillers and foregons. I'm going to type that in the chat box. Okay. Fillers and foregons. Now, what are fillers and foregons? Fillers are words like, I mean, you know, basically, actually. ये words हम जो use करते हैं ना. And foregons are words like like you're applying brakes on a car. Now imagine I have, how many people do I have here today? I have 210 people. And imagine if I were to, like, you know, I mean, basically, you know, like talk to you like 200 people, 210 people like this. I can guarantee you within 5 minutes, I would have had 10 people left in this webinar because it is very choppy and difficult to understand somebody who speaks with fillers or foregons. So पहले क्या करना है, हमको झाड़ू लगाना है. We want to deep clean our voice if we want to sound better in a presentation. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to speak without words like, I mean, you know, now, basically. So actually want to remove these unnecessary words. The best way to do that is to speak slowly and mindfully. You know why we have these words, unnecessary words? Because our mind is at a 2G speed, processing information dhire dhire, and our tongue is at a 5G speed. So we don't have enough words. And that is why we fill in the words with filler words. Okay. So slow down. Slow down when you speak and you will get rid of fillers and foregons. So I'm going to quickly type in the chat box things that we've done so far. We've done vocal workouts, right? Which is going to help you get better with your overall vocal ability to speak. We've spoken about the diaphragm, right? We've also spoken about fillers and foregons. Now I'm going to give you one massive technique to help you improve your speaking forever. This is like a super secret which people use to instantly improve your voice. How many of you would like to instantly improve your voice? Type me in the chat box and I'll give you this super tip. Okay. This is such a brilliant tip. All my clients, CEOs use this. People who have difficulty opening their mouth. This can be a quick fix, easy fix. Okay. And this is not marketing yarn. It'll actually work. I promise you that. Okay. इसके लिए आपको क्या चाहिए? You need a pen. If you have a pen handy, actually, I just realized I would also need a pen. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Right. So if you have a pen or a pencil, what you need to do is you need to open your mouth. Okay. Keep the pen inside and say something. My name is Almas and I'm here for the presentation skill workshop. Open your mouth and say the same thing. My name is Almas and I'm here for the presentation skills workshop. What am I doing? I keep the pen inside. I say something. I remove the pen and exactly at the same time, I remove the pen. Okay. At this very same time, instantly, I repeat it. Okay. My name is Almas and I'm here for the presentation skills workshop. My name is Almas and I'm here for the presentation skills workshop. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to do this. For those of you who have a pen handy, please try it and tell me how was your experience, whether it actually works. It works all the time. Okay. It works all the time. So please tell me whether it worked for you. And if you can do this every day while you're reading, okay, just pick up a book, any random book, and read it. Read one line with the pen, read one line without the pen. Your mouth will start opening up. Yes, Nehal, it's an awesome technique. In fact, it is used for speech therapy as well. People who stammer are given this. Do not prescribe this, huge disclaimer, but this is a very, very good technique. Great. So we've done a lot of work on the voice. So the first thing that we want to do is improve our voice, and you've got a lot, right? If you can go back and implement this on a daily basis, whether it's the workouts, whether it is speaking from the diaphragm, speaking slowly without fillers, using the pen technique, all of this is going to create wonders for you. Okay. So this is the section on voice. And how about I share some magical tools with you to engage the audience? Now, when you're making a presentation, it is so important to engage the audience. How many of you would like to actually engage your audience? Type me in the chat box. Because what I've seen is that people sit with a huge PowerPoint and they're only dumping information, right? They're just dumping information. I call it information download. And the audience is sitting mentally in Goa with an iced tea in their hand. They're not interested because attention spans are limited. I am right now using so many techniques to keep you engaged because you're otherwise going to be lost. Maybe you've had lunch or aap already sone ka soch rahe ho, and I need to pull you back, right? I need to use enough hooks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you with techniques that will actually get your audience hooked with you, which means we need to use a lot of tools. Now, here is the number one mistake. The number one mistake that people make when they make a presentation is that they feel that they actually have to work only on the PPT. The PPT is a presentation. पूरी की पूरी energy जाती है PPT बनाने में. If you've been guilty spending all of your time just making that PPT and not rehearsing it, then this is going to be a game changer for you. And I work with so many people and I tell you that all of them are busy making PowerPoints. And I keep telling him the PowerPoint is only a tool. It is not your presentation. Your presentation is a lot more than that. So what is it? Let's take a look. Now, the first thing I want us to understand is that there are three types of learners. Okay, three types of learners. And I'd like you to type this with me so that you remember it. Okay, please type visual, 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 visual. Okay. The second type, visual is the first type. Okay. The visual learner is somebody who learns through seeing, through observation. Okay. That's how visual learners learn. The second type of learners are auditory learners. Okay. I'm going to type auditory for you. AUDITORY. Auditory, auditory. Visual and then auditory. Auditory learners are learners that learn through listening. Okay. And the third type of learners that you will have when you're making a presentation is called kinesthetic. I know it's a technical name, but I'd like you to remember this. KINESTHETIC, kinesthetic. Kinesthetic learners are learners that learn through doing. Okay. So visual is learners that learn through seeing something. Auditory is listening and kinesthetic is doing. So three types of learners. अब होता यह है कि हम एक पीपीटी बनाते हैं. We make this one PPT and we're only catering to the visual learners. What about the auditory learners and the kinesthetic learners? If I don't get you to do something, then you're not going to be engaged. So we need a lot of tools for all three kinds of learners. Okay. So imagine you're making a presentation to a visual learner. Can you give me some ideas on what could be some tools that we could use for visual learners? Let me give you an example of a tool. What I mean by a tool is it could be a physical tool like a whiteboard, okay? Or it could be a graph that I show on a PPT. So what are some tools? Okay, so Nisha says pictures. Very good. Images are very powerful with visual learners. What else can you use with visual learners? Small videos, Garima says. Charts, okay. Abhay says charts. What else? What are some other tools? Animation, yeah. Very nice. Come on, come on. What else could we include in our toolbox for visual learners? How else do you think they will learn better? Dashboards, objects. Ajit, a big high five for that. That's a good one. I'll tell you more about objects in a bit. Moving pictures, tables, colors. GIFs, very good. Memes, GIFs, moving pictures. Yeah. Even fonts for that matter. But don't make it too fancy. This is not a PPT workshop. We won't cover that really, but just to tell you that visual learners also like visually appealing things, right? So keep it nice and appealing. I said that I'm going to talk a little bit about objects, right? So objects are also known as props, P-R-O-P, props. ये इतना powerful है, I tell you. Props are so powerful to use. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients, who was a CEO of a firm, he wanted to make an announcement that there's been a merger of his organization with another organization. And he brought the globe as a prop, as an object for that presentation. And he told the audience that today we were present in this and this continent. After this merger, we are going to be present in this, and this 4 continents. And it was so amazing because the audience actually saw a visual in front of them in the form of a prop. Okay, so that's prop. Let's take a look at some of these things. You can take a picture of this if you like, right? So these are some visual tools that you can use. A journey map that you can show, images, smart art, flowcharts. Smart art is available on PPT, right? Arrows, highlights, process flows. PPT is a visual, chart paper, whiteboard. Your body language can be a visual for someone, right? Your facial expressions, your gestures, props. Demonstrating something, showing someone how to do something is for a visual learner. If you can make a poster in advance and carry it, that is for visual learners. Bringing in a third party, asking someone to introduce you, a third party, like Ekta introduced me. So for me, that was a visual, that was a tool for visual learners, right? Also, you saw video right at the start. So videos are for visual learners. Visualization. So close your eyes, imagine, visualize, creating scenarios for your audience. All of that is for visual learners, right? So there's a lot more than PPT. And we're going to proceed and look at some more tools. How many of you want more tools to make your presentations engaging? Type more in the chat box if you want more tools. There's so much that I have to share with you. We don't want our presentations to be boring, okay? We don't want it to be death by PowerPoint. No more sending our audience to Goa. We want them to be with us. And for that, we need tools, okay? So the next tool section is for the auditory learners. What do you think they would need as tools? How would they learn? What are some tools for auditory learners? Come on, open the chat box. Let's brainstorm. Group discussion, Mansi, that's amazing. Yes, they learn very well through group discussion. What else? Videos, yeah, the audio part of the video is for them. One-to-one discussion, very nice. Podcasts, yes. What else? What else? How else would auditory learn? Now, podcast, you can't really get a podcast in a presentation, but what you can get is an audio clip that you can use to make a presentation. Like use it as a part of your presentation. Voice modulation, absolutely, absolutely, very important. Conduct some activities. So activities are more for kinesthetic learners. But if you are playing, let's say, an audio and doing an activity around that, then that could be for an auditory learner. So let's take a look at some tools. Stories. Auditory learners love stories. Okay. Voice modulation, energy in the voice, quotes, anecdotes. Anecdotes are stories again. Okay. Your story, somebody else's stories. Examples, audio clips, discussion. Someone already mentioned that. FAQs. So asking people to raise their hands and ask you questions, brainstorming, questions, all of these are for auditory. Samir, questionnaire is for the kinesthetic learner. Kinesthetic is somebody that learns through doing, okay? So anything that is for them to do, yeah, thank you, Samir. Okay, so let's move to kinesthetic learners. So kinesthetic learners, how would they learn? What do you think would be good tools for them? Hands-on practice, Mansi says. What else? What else? Come on. Breakout rooms. Nice, nice. What else? What else can you do with kinesthetic learners? Live examples. But they should be doing something with that. Games, yeah, they would love games. What else? Case studies, a small group game. Ask them questions, ask them to do something. Questionnaire, like somebody mentioned, right? Exercises, icebreakers, energizers, all of this. So participatory exercises, surveys and assessments, individual, group exercises, partner exercises. Oh, okay, quizzes, contests, DIY. Ask them to do something. They would enjoy that. So demonstration is when you do it and they observe, but sampling is when they do it. Okay, give them handouts. Ask them to read something. Ask them to do something. Ask them to solve something, and they would love all of that. Right. So now we have a lot of tools. Like I said, you can take pictures if you like. After having all of this, you are not allowed to use PPT only, okay? PPT is just one of the tools. There is so much more that we can do to take ourselves a top notch with presentation skills. And trust me, even if you use three, two or three, not two, but let's say 3 or 4 tools out of this in a 1 hour presentation, your audience is going to be really enjoying every bit of your presentation. Okay, it's not going to be boring. That I promise you. And I'm going to give you some more ideas to now take it to the next level. We're not done yet. We're talking about structuring our presentation using tools. Now, what I want us to do is to think about how can we really create more impact with our audience. Okay. So, what is the first thing that you need to say when you open a presentation? Now, remember this, the first 7 seconds, isko gaur se sunna, okay? The first 7 seconds will decide if the audience wants to listen to you, and the first 30 seconds will decide if they want to experience you. Okay? So the first 7 seconds, the first 30 seconds are very, very important. Opening is super duper important. Okay. Now, does anyone remember how did I open? I asked you a question. What else did I do? How did I open? You saw something on the screen. What was that? What did you see on the screen? Yeah, my childhood picture. My childhood picture. And I asked you to raise your hand if you've ever been scared, right? Now, it's so important to open with a bang. And that is something that we're going to look at. How do we open with a bang? How do we hook our audience for them to really be in tuned with what we are saying? Okay. Now, remember, a good presentation involves using a wide variety of crayons. You want to use a lot of tools and you want to use less PPT. And the first, and that what that is going to lead to is you move from downloading information to really uploading engagement. And for that, what we want to do is keep this in mind. Okay. This slide is very, very important. The audience will remember that takeoff. Takeoff is your opening, the first 7 seconds, your 30 seconds. Okay. They'll remember the landing, which is your closing, and some aha moments in between. It's like when you read a book, you don't remember everything, right? So, similarly, in a presentation, your audience will remember takeoff, landing, and aha moments in between. And that is why your takeoff and landing are very, very important. Okay. So, what can we do to open with a bang? So, any ideas on how we could open creatively? What could we do to open our presentations creatively? Instead of saying hi, hello, how are you? What, or after that, what can we say? Ask a question to grab attention. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What else? What else can you do? A quote, start with a quote, start with a story. Very good. What else can you do? Add humor. Yeah. Now, here's the thing about humor, okay? You don't add humor, you uncover humor as you move along. And humor, when humor is on you, it's good. When the joke is on you, it's good. Never ever try a joke on the audience when you're not really sure. Ask a question so everyone is on the same page. Short video. You could start with a video. Very nice, Samir. What else could you do? What else could you do? You could show images. You could show statistics. Okay. So imagine a number, which is, I don't know, $600 million. Okay. And then you say, what do you think that number is? And get everyone to think about it. And then you say that is the kind of savings we will have if we implement this idea over the next 2 years. Aha, right? So you can use statistics. Okay. Now, what's important is that keep it relevant. So the cricket match idea is a good idea, but the quickly you hook your audience into your message, the better it is. The best way to open a presentation, in my opinion, is to ask a question. And I'm going to give you a recipe, a formula that always works. And it worked today as well when I used it. Okay. I said, raise your hands or type yes in the chat box if. So you're asking people to take action. Okay. One way of asking the question is, how many of you have been scared? I could have asked, right? How many of you have ever been scared in life? But I wouldn't have had interaction. What did I do? I said, raise your hands if you've ever been scared in life. Or open the chat box, type yes in the chat box if you've ever been scared in life. Now, the whole idea of doing this is to get your audience to participate with you. You want your audience to participate with you, to engage with you. And that is why it is good to get them to do action. Yeah. So instead of asking how many of you have you ever, say, raise your hands, and that is going to give you a result. So that was my power tip for you. I hope you enjoyed that. So this is really about engaging the audience in terms of using a wide variety of tools. Now, how many of you feel that you have a lot of tools and you can move beyond PPT? Please type tools if you feel you have a lot of tools now that you would like to start using, and it's not just PPT. Okay, please, no death by PowerPoint. Your audience wants to engage with you, they want to enjoy what you're doing with them. Don't bore them with PPT. Or apna samay bachao. Don't really spend too much time in making fancy PPTs. Use that time in rehearsing on what you're going to say. Okay, and with that, I really want to talk to you about body language. It really matters. Now, why does body language matters? Because people observe your body language more than your tone of voice and more than your words. So there's a research by a doctor or a professor called Albert Mehrabian. Okay, I'm going to type that in the chat box. Albert Mehrabian. And what he says is that when you look at someone, subconsciously, you're creating first impressions about the person. Okay. So initially, when you look at someone, you focus only 7% on their words. So words have very little value when you're meeting someone. Okay. Tone of voice is about 27%. And the remaining is a good 50 plus 54%, I think, if you've done the math, I don't know. 54% is body language. And that is so important. People actually read a lot through your body language. And body language is extremely important. Okay. Now, what I want you to remember is that even if you're on a Zoom session like this, making a presentation, or whether you're standing, how you appear is extremely important. But today I'm going to talk about a couple of tips that you can use when you're making a face-to-face presentation, because we're talking about going one notch higher, right? So the first thing I want to talk to you about is hands. A lot of people ask me, what do I do with my hands? How many of you struggle with hands when you're standing to make a presentation? Type hands. This is a common thing that I get asked. Iska karna kya hai? What do I do with this? Where do I keep my hands? How do I stand? What do I do? So I'm going to solve some of those questions for you. Okay. The first thing that you want to keep in mind is that you want to have open gestures. So you want to have open gestures. Okay. You don't want to hold something and point at the audience. Okay. Because obviously this doesn't seem right. You don't want to fold your hands or keep your hands behind. You want to keep your hands open. Why do you keep your hands open? Because this indicates that you're ready to give information and knowledge and learning. and you're ready to receive. You're open, you're approachable. So this is very good. Okay. So you remember the diaphragm? What I'd like you to do is put your hands near your diaphragm like this. Okay, like this, and then open your hands. Bring your hands together and open your hands. Okay, don't keep it too tight. We don't want robotics and we don't want to do this. Okay, so keep your hands and open your hands like this, and this would be the right gesture to use. Keep it as open as possible, and this is how you speak. So this is a gesture that you'll have to keep practicing. Once you get used to this gesture, it's a brilliant gesture to use. Okay, so these are your hand gestures. Okay, so remember, bring your hands to the diaphragm, bring your hands to the diaphragm, and then open your hands and then use the gestures accordingly. Okay, so this is a good gesture to use. Any significance? Significance is that this indicates that you're open to sharing information and you're open to receiving information. So this is, obviously there are many other gestures that you can use, but worldwide this is recognized as the best gesture for a speaker to use. Okay. Now, what do you do with your eye contact? Anyone here needs help with eye contact? When you're standing in front of an audience, where do I look? Type me in the chat box. Come on, engagement is dropping. I need you to be with me. How many of you need help with eye contact? If you need information, then I'll share it with you. Great. So what do you do with your eye contact? Now, here's a really cool tip that I'm going to give you. You would have never heard of this one before. This is very interesting. When you're standing, let's say in a room of 20 people, okay, 15, 20 people, look at sections, don't look at people. Write this down if you like. Look at sections, don't look at people. So imagine this is a room and there are 20 people sitting here. In my head, I have imaginary sections. So this is a section, 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 section. And I look at each section for, let's say, 1 or 2 seconds, not more than that. So I look at a section and then I look at a section again. And while I'm talking, I look at another section and then I randomly look at that section. Okay, so I randomly look at sections and that's how I talk. So 1 or 2 seconds, sections, sections, sections. And once you start practicing this, you'll get an idea of it. You please make sure that you don't put one person in the spot and make the whole presentation to that one person. It's not fair to the others. Okay. When you're presenting virtually, eye contact is not something you can monitor really. But what you want to do is look at the camera. And what's important is the frame that you have. You need to have enough real estate on both sides. I see a lot of people making presentations like this. I mean, this is annoying, right? I've seen people make presentations like this, or they're slouching. So remember, when you're presenting virtually, the lighting has to be good. So for me, right now, I'm sitting next to a window. Okay. And the lighting is just pure lighting. There's no artificial light. I've invested in a good mic, so it helps my audio. And there is a wall at the back. So which means there won't be people walking in and out. So make sure, even if it's a blank wall, that is okay. That is okay. But you need to make sure that there is no disturbance at the back and you are in the center of the frame and you have enough light. These things are very important, people, non-negotiable. Okay. Also, a smile goes a long way. So try to smile as much as possible. And with your posture, okay, with the posture, I want to give you one last tip. Okay. Remember, when you are standing, listen to this carefully. Whenever you are standing, the distance between your feet, the distance between the 2 legs, your feet, should be in line with the distance between your shoulder. Understood? Distance between the feet to be in line with distance between the shoulder. Okay, that's how you stand. So your legs don't have to be really wide apart and they don't have to be really stuck together that you'll fall. So it has to be a decent balance. Make sure you stand upright and most importantly, shoulders back when you're standing. Virtual backgrounds, good idea. Depends on your organization if it allows you to use it. If you can get a good virtual background, which is not too fancy, because I've seen people are more focused on the background than you as a speaker. So make sure that your background is not so fancy that the audience gets distracted. Okay. So those were some tips that I wanted to share around body language with you. So we've done voice. We've done a whole lot of stuff around voice. We've also done a lot of things around tools, right? Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. We've also spoken about body language, our gestures, our posture, also eye contact, and our overall facial expressions. We've spoken about that. And now, what I want to do is talk a little bit about fear, because a lot of you asked me about this, right? So, how many of you feel this fear when you are in front of an audience? Let's say 5 people, 6 people, 10 people, 20 people. How many of you actually experience fear? Okay. Okay. I must applaud you for being honest here. Okay. Okay. So as you're typing me, okay, I am going to type me in the chat box too. Now I know this sounds like a surprise, right? But David Lacroix, who's a world speaking champion, in one of his YouTube videos, he mentioned that when he was on stage for the 7th time on a world speaking championship stage, he was scared. All of us feel that fear, okay? 75% of people in this world fear public speaking. वो initial butterflies आते ही हैं. They're for everyone. The name, the dictionary word for the fear of public speaking is glossophobia. Glossophobia. Okay. Now, why do we experience this fear? Because there is a fear of judgment, a fear of criticism that is there within us. And this is what leads to us getting really scared of how am I going to be viewed. Our problem ye hai that everybody today is talking about how to impress an audience. And I think that is so not cool. Please don't try to impress an audience. I'll tell you why. Because the more you think about impressing someone, the more you feel scared of how are they going to perceive you. Judgment aur bad jata hai in your head. What you want to do is you want to focus on expressing yourself, not impress. Okay. So don't impress, express yourself authentically, the way you are. Show up fully. And that fear will reduce. So I'm going to give you some practical tips, right? I promise to give you some tips that you can go back and use. You want some practical tips, right? So I'm not going to give you a lot of gyan on fear because you can get all of that on YouTube. I want to give you some practical tips. So the first thing I want you to understand, please write this down with me. Energy. Emotion. Emotion, okay, emotion. Emotion is equal to energy in motion. I'd like you to write this down in the chat box. Energy in motion. Emotion is energy in motion. Because I want you to remember this, and that's why I'm asking you to type it out. Emotion is energy in motion. Okay. Now, please understand fear is an emotion. Fear is an emotion. And I'm saying emotion is energy in motion. Now, back in school, we learned something in physics about energy. Let me see who can answer this very quickly. Okay, let's see who's the first person to answer this. Energy can neither be transferred, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can be dash. I actually said it. Come on, let's see who can get this one. Transformed, right? Energy is transformed. Energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So the fear that you're experiencing inside can be transformed into a different kind of energy, can be released. Okay. And that is what I'm going to help you understand in terms of practical tips. So let me give you 2 tips very quickly just before we wind up today's session. And if you follow these tips, it's definitely going to help you. The first tip is a Japanese technique called Jin Jin Jitsu. Okay. Jin Jin Jitsu. Okay. Now, what the Japanese say is that our emotions are stored in the pulse point of our fingertips. Okay. And I'm going to give you an acronym for you to remember. W fast. W fast. Okay. Worry, fear, W fast, worry, fear, anger, sadness, and trying too hard. Trying too hard is when you're really trying too hard and you're nervous. So this technique says every time you experience a fear, okay, you want to go to the finger where the fear is. So it says your fingers absorb your energy, your emotions. So hold this finger where fear is and just breathe it out. Okay, just breathe out. W fast, worry, fear, anger, sadness, trying too hard. When we try too much to do something and it doesn't move. Okay. And whichever emotion you're experiencing. So let's say you're experiencing anger. So you hold this and you keep breathing slowly. And there will be a point where the anger will leave you and you will start feeling a pulse point in this. Okay, you will start feeling a pulse point. And this is so powerful. I have CEOs doing this in boardroom meetings. Okay, right below the board, the table, boardroom table, and it works very well. Okay, so this is Jinjin Jishu, a practical tip that you can use. The second thing that you can do is diaphragm breathing. Remember we spoke about the diaphragm? So belly breathing, slow breaths. I'm sure you've heard about this all the time. Today, you know the science, and the science is emotion is an energy in motion. So when you're feeling fear, it's an emotion inside the body. And when you breathe it out, you're actually releasing that energy and transferring it. Okay. So slow belly breaths. Keep your hand on your belly. And when you breathe in, imagine your belly is like a balloon. जब हम balloon inflate होता है ना, expand होता है. So stomach expands when you breathe in, and when you breathe out, the stomach contracts. And the slower and deeper your breaths are, the more you're able to release fear. Okay. And lastly, keep sipping water, not gulping or drinking water, sipping water. Again, the science behind that is it helps you balance the energy in your body. And if you can go to the washroom a couple of times before your presentation, you'll actually would have balanced your energy. So keep sipping a little bit of water, try the Jinjin Jitsu, try the belly breaths, and you're going to be much better when you land on stage. One last final tip, okay? And this is a deal breaker. If you can do this, you would know how to ace your presentations with confidence. When you are standing, I want you to, and you can do this right now, okay? Imagine your feet are on the ground, right? You're sitting on a chair right now, your feet are on the ground. I want you to experience your feet being firmly in the ground. Okay? Like a tree with roots. Imagine a tree with roots. Imagine your feet are firmly in the ground. Anchor yourself, ground yourself, and half of the fear vanishes. Because when we feel the fear, our legs are shaky. तो पहले सबसे पहले हमको पैर को ground करना है. So ground your feet. Do it right now. Your feet are on the ground. Imagine they're a tree with roots. Just ground them. And then do your belly breaths. And you will get better with confidence. You will be able to get rid of fear even more. Okay? As we end this session for you, I want to leave you with 3 last mantras and 1 quote from someone special. These are mantras I literally live by. Okay. The first mantra is, and you can type this out if you like, less is more, which means less data on your PowerPoint. You don't want too many paragraphs and reading out of that. You don't want too much data, too many points. Less is more. Simple is powerful. Nobody wants Shashi Tharoor language. Vocabulary utna nahi chahiye kisi ko. No jargons. If you are from the IT field, I'm just giving an example, or a medical field or any field which has too many jargons, keep it simple. Keep it very, very simple. Simple is powerful. And the last one is great presentations require great preparation. Steve Jobs' launch of iPhone is a popular video on YouTube. Okay, go to YouTube and look for Steve Jobs' launch of iPhone. जब पहला iPhone launch हुआ था, and that presentation, I'm only talking about the presentation, yeah. That presentation preparation was 3 months. There was a team of people put together to put that presentation together for 3 months. When I say presentation, is delivery, what's going to go on the screen, at what point, what will happen. So any amazing presentation or speech that you see is a result of a lot of preparation. Never ever go unprepared. Okay. So those are the 3 mantras. If you carry them with you, you will move a top notch. You will move a notch higher and will go top notch, right? So we've done a lot of work so far. I want to know what has been your biggest aha during this workshop as we wind up. What did you enjoy the most from this workshop? What's your biggest takeaway, your biggest aha today? Please open the chat box and tell me what is this one thing that you really enjoyed, you loved, it's your aha, and you want to take back with you as we wind up the session. Gliding technique.
Yeah, Almaz. So before we conclude the like this session, I would like to have the feedback poll launched. That will really help us to curate such more sessions. And I'll just request everyone to take out a moment to take participation in this poll. So the poll is live on your screen, so you can participate in this poll. Give us the suggestions, or like what are the sessions that you want under the further uh, months that you will like to cover up. So we will also try to accommodate all these topics as well. So the poll is live, so you can just share your valuable feedback. And now let us move on to the Q&A section. So Almaz is there to address your questions and share the insights. So if you have any questions to ask, you can raise your hand. We can move to the panelists as well, wherein you can directly speak to Almaz and you can answer those questions. Or else you can type your questions under the chat box. We are eager to hear from you. Anybody wants to ask any question, can please raise your hand. Thanks, Nehal, for giving us such a wonderful feedback. Yeah. So, Almaz, there are two questions. Yeah. So, can mix of language be good to involve the audience?
Oh, yes. I think language is only a medium of expression, right? And it totally depends on who is your audience and whether you're allowed to use a certain language. And of course, people in the audience should know that language. So it really depends on these things. Any other questions that we can take? Nova, I think, has a question.
Yeah, there is one more raised hand. I would like to move him on the panelist.
Any special tips when engaging or presenting to executive or leadership audience? So I think what's important to remember is that they are human beings too. And what I feel is that when we're presenting to a leadership audience, we get too engrossed with data, statistics, and numbers, and we don't engage our audience enough. And this is a common practice that I've observed, right? But what you can do is make sure you are extremely well prepared. So I know there was this one situation where one of my clients went into the presentation heavily relying on their tools and PPTs, etc. And then there was a power cut. So what we learned from that experience is that you want to carry handouts of your slides or whatever you have with you, okay? And make sure that you give them a copy so that you don't goof up anywhere. The second thing is it may be a good idea to involve them in with their responses because they are eager to participate. They want to share their perspective. So it may be a good idea to keep asking for their input, sharing data and asking for their input. Those things really help rather than just downloading information.
Yeah.
Hi, ma'am.
So yeah, Nova, go ahead.
Hi, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening.
So when I write in letters or emails, my way of grammar and everything will be very good. But when I speak, the expression is not at all good. So I swallow the words which I speak.
So you're talking about your speaking skills.
Yes, ma'am. When I write emails or anything, that will be very, very excellent. My colleagues will say that your way of writing emails and letters will be very nice, Nova. But when I express my words, it's not up to the level.
Okay. So you need some help improving that. Is that what you're asking?
Some expression is not at all good.
Expressions.
Yes, expression. That means
Facial
not my expression, ma'am. For example, tell me about the Hyderabad.
Okay.
Tell me about the Hyderabad. I can't express the words.
Oh, so when you have to speak
Okay, tell me about the Hyderabad in an email. I will be good.
Right. And why do you think you have this challenge? What is happening to you when you have to speak? What is the difference between writing and speaking?
See, when I write means I get the imagination, the words and vocabulary words, everything I will get. But when I speak, I won't get.
Right. So I
It
have
will be a cutting.
Go ahead. Go
It
ahead.
will be a, yes.
You were saying something.
Writing in emails and letters will be good, ma'am.
Okay.
But when I am expressing, it's not up to the level.
Right. So because when you are writing,
Yes.
you get the opportunity to think and write.
Yes.
But when you are speaking, you have to speak impromptu on the spot.
On the spot, yes.
Right. So one of the things, Nova, to do is to speak in short sentences and speak slowly when there is a new topic. So that gives your brain enough time to think of new ideas. Okay. And the other thing that you can do is look up something called mind maps. Mind maps, MINDMAPS, by a gentleman called Tony Buzan.
Okay.
What I see you struggling with is using the right side of the brain more. Now, the right side is in charge of creativity, impromptu speaking, emotion, memory. Okay. The left is more logical. When we are writing something, the left brain is working a lot more. When we're speaking impromptu, the right brain needs the push. So what you can do, Nova, is you can start practicing some activities through mind maps. So pick up a topic. There are a lot of apps on mind maps, by the way. You can download an app, and mind map is basically a picture in the center, and then you can create ideas around it. So pick up any topic, for example, Hyderabad, or presentation skills, or comedy, or movies, or whatever, and then start making mind maps. Make a mind map every alternate day, and it will start boosting your right brain, Nova. Nova, in your case, I think the right brain boosting is very important because
Okay.
when your right brain gets activated, you're able to speak impromptu very easily. Okay, so that is the first tip. The second tip is slow down and speak in short sentences so that you have enough of time left for you to think of the next piece that you want to say and the next piece rather than jumbling your thought process. Okay. All the
Thank
best.
you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone, maximum people, everyone, colleagues' problem or everyone's problem is only expression. The way of they can't express. So in my domain, I will say that words will be my English will be butler. Not only me, lots of people.
Sorry, your English will be what?
We can't speak in clear.
You can't speak freely.
No, ma'am. Sentence formation will be not at all good.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe that may be a vocabulary mistakes will be there, or they may be judged. They will judge. We think that they will judge like this, and our voice will be getting down.
Right. So it's going to need a lot of practice. Okay. The
Oh,
first place to start from is to start reading. Whenever I start working with a new client, the first thing that they do is out loud reading. So pick up a book and start reading out loud. Start from there. And there is an app, Nova. It's called Udly. Okay. Udly is an AI tool.
okay.
YOODLI. Udly is this AI app where you can practice your speech and it will give you grammar corrections on the spot. So start using Udly to get help. Ekta, you wanted to share something?
Almaz, we
Thank
have
you,
two
ma'am.
more questions under the Q&A section.
Okay.
So like Samir wants to know what's your take on AI tools being used for preparing presentation, for example, ChatGPT.
Yeah, you can use it, but it can't be all of it, right? An AI tool is not going to give you, let's say, it'll only give you the slides. But like I said, slides is only a part of the presentation. The overall presentation is you. How will you engage the audience? What tools will you use? What will you say? How will you say it? So if you can use the structure that I gave you and ask ChatGPT to come up with 2 exercises, for example, or ask ChatGPT to make a poster for you. Take that help, but use the tools to take that help. You should know that your presentation, when you're using ChatGPT, don't use it only for PPT. Use it for everything that I taught you. Yeah.
So there is one more last question. If at all we get a question from audience and you do not know the answer, how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So here's what I would do. I would say that's a great question. And I would use something called deflect, reflect, deflect. Okay. What is reflect, deflect? Reflect is, that's a great question. That's reflect. And then I would first deflect it back to the audience saying, what do the rest of you think about this? Reflect, deflect. Okay. So try asking the rest of the audience if somebody has an answer. Okay. The other thing that you could do is, first of all, be honest. Never ever blabber something that you don't know. So let's say, for example, if I'm sitting with a group of experts and they're asking me a technical question that I don't know, then I would say that's a great question. At this point in time, I don't have information because there is a specific team with specialized skills that can give you a much better answer. So is it okay if we put this in the parking lot for now and let us catch up after the presentation with that expert to fill you in? That's what I would do. I would be honest and say, I'm not the right person. There's another person who can help you. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, so here there is one more question, like any tip for children who speak fast and lose clarity in their speech?
Okay, now there could be various reasons. I don't want to comment on this. You may want to seek a speech therapist because it may be a case-to-case basis. But one of the common things that you can do is sit with your child and read and let them read slowly. Every word slowly with like theater style. Ask them to emote, ask them to come up with expressions and emotions and read slowly. That's the first thing you can do. If it's a severe problem, then I suggest you see a speech therapist. Yeah.
Yeah. So as we wrap up the today's webinar on presentation skills, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our speaker Almas and to all of you for an active participation. So it's been an enlightening session. So our journey continues next week with a mudra session, like with a mudra yoga Stay inspired, stay informed, and stay well. Join us then. This is your host, Ekta, saying goodbye for now.
Great. I'd like to add one last thing, Ekta, if you allow me, right?
Yeah, sure,
And
Amma.
this one is dedicated to my guru and mentor. So I have learned public speaking from world speaking champion Craig Valentine. And he says, a great message is a mess that gets better with age. So it's okay if you have a mess right now, it will turn into a message with age. Thank you so much for being a lovely audience. I hope to see you soon again.